The Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. I can't believe it's been 5 years since the passing of our Chaim Wakslak Waxl. He was a spiritual leader of the Israel of Long Beach, and he was affiliated with HASC, and he also was affiliated with Newark, and he had a congregation in Israel of Bell Harbor. And I happened to know him over the years, and I was very close with him. He was such a wonderful individual. I just wanted to share, before I introduce our panel, with some thoughts that I shared with the congregation in Israel of Long Beach this morning under the leadership of Rabbi Binyamin Silver, the Moradasra, and really this is the shul we put a lot of kochos, a lot of efforts into it. And I'm reminded of something in this week's Parshat, which I think is very, very apropos. The Torah states how Moshe, Aaron, the elders, Nadav and Avihu were invited to ascend with Moshe to really have a conversation with God to receive the Torah. And the Torah says that they were invited to come up. They were asked to go up. And then it just says Moshe went up by himself. So the Medrash asked the question, what happened to the elders? There's a Canaan. They were also supposed to be going up. Why is it only Moshe by himself? So the Medrash says that God treats people mida keneged mida, measure for measure. So the elders, when Moshe and Aaron were going to Paro, what happened is that they went along with him, but along the way they got cold feet, and by the time they got to Paro, it was only Moshe and Aaron. The elders just backed out because they were afraid. So God said, "You're afraid of a melech basar v'dam, of a king of flesh and blood." So He only let them go partway, but they couldn't ascend fully to be with Moshe and Aaron. But the question is, Aaron went with Moshe all the way to Paro. Why wasn't he there with Moshe when they had this particular situation where they had an encounter with God? So here's something what the Medrash says, something very, very fascinating. And the Medrash says that what happened is that Aaron did not want a situation where, the Sakanim would be embarrassed. That's right, because they were not going full way to Hashem. So he was willing to forego an encounter with God in order that they should spare the situation where they would be embarrassed by it. So can you imagine that? So there's a story that was told from the Chafetz Chaim in Rodin, where he had the yeshiva. And what happened is he had the yeshiva, and he wasn't the Rosh Yeshiva at that particular moment in time. And what happened is that he gave a speech, and he said, listen, there is a town nearby where you have a situation where the mikveh is not kosher. Is somebody willing to go to this particular town and just on Yom Kippur exhort the congregation to do the right thing and fix the mikveh? Good. Chafetz Chaim finished the speech, and later on, a young student came over to the Chafetz Chaim. He says to the Chafetz Chaim, "I have a question on this Tosfos." So he and the Chafetz Chaim go back and forth, and finally the question is resolved for the bacher, for the student. So then the Chafetz Chaim says to the student, "What do you think about my exhortation that somebody should go to this town for Yom Kippur and really bring spirituality to these people and help them fix the mikveh? Are you willing to do so?" And the student said, "I'm going to forego being in Rodin for Yom Kippur, the holiness, the special spirit, the davening. I'm going to give that up to go." And basically, he refused the Chafetz Chaim. So you know what the Chafetz Chaim said? "I spit on your Tosfos." Our school has this, by the way, in their video. It's told by Rabbi Beryl Wein when they have a conversation. Could you imagine? In other words, the lesson here is that in order to be a leader, in order to be somebody that's really a servant of God, you have to be somebody to be willing to forego your spirituality to help other people. I have to say, Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak was such an individual. He gave up of his time. He woke up 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure the bakery had the light on, to give daf yomi at 5:30 in the morning. He attended to whatever problem was. People came to him, not just from the Israel of Long Beach, and not just at HASC where he was, but they came from all different walks of life, and he helped them. He and the Rebbetzin, Rivka Waxlak, so may she live in good health. They were a couple. They really excelled in chesed. To be somebody who knows Torah and to paskin is beautiful. But if you don't have the element of really caring for other people, being involved with them and helping them, you're lacking something great. That's the lesson of the Chafetz Chaim. That's the lesson that Aaron from this week's Parsha. And I have to say, Rabbi Chaim Aaron, his middle name is after Aaron HaKohen, of course, it was somebody who lived up to that. And that's why this Litvak became a chassid, Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak. When he sent me an email anonymously when I had a summer place in Lido Beach, I got an email from him to come to Israel to see him, and he got me involved, and I was happy to run the lecture series on Shabbos for many years, to run the 8:30 minyan, which I'm still doing for him, because he was able to inspire people to do things. My memory of him is after the Sandy, which was a devastating hurricane, and I remember on the balcony of the outside of the Israel of Long Beach, he stood there, and there were plenty of people in the streets, and he was assigning people. He was like the captain of the ship. You go here, you go there to help people. And he would schlep food from the 5 towns to feed people, Jew and non-Jew, during that particular point in time when so many people were suffering because of devastation, Hurricane Sandy. That's a true leader. And that's why 5 years later, we're still commemorating. I'm waiting for the book to be written about him. And a Yahrzeit is a time of not so much to be cry or to mourn, but also to be inspired. And I close with something that I saw from Rabbi Zalman Sorotskin. You want an excellent sefer is Naim LaTorah. And he says at a time that a person passes on from the world, God says to the angel, this is a medrash, God says to the angels, go and see how righteous this person was. Go and see what they're saying about him. God has to send angels to see what the person's writing about him. God knows everything. Everything is recorded in the heavens. Why is he sending angels? Because the truth is he wants to see what people are saying about him, how this person who passed on inspired other people. This is true of the funeral. And by the way, that's the why you're allowed to postpone the funeral for Kavod HaMeis, for the honor of that person, so you can have eulogies that extol the virtues of the person who's deceased. And this is done, of course, at the funeral, but I'm saying even at the Yahrzeit, when we assess and reevaluate and look at the legacy of people, it goes on. And certainly Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak's legacy lives on. What he's done goes way beyond his short amount of time here on earth. So we're very pleased and privileged that we do every year to present a special program to examine the legacy of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak. And so we, through our really walks of different life that were appearing on the show, because Rabbi Waxl wasn't just young Israel of Long Beach, he also was Bell Harbor, he also was in Newark, he was HASC. So Dr. Jared Schiff was mentored by Rabbi Wakslak. He was raised in Long Beach. He established his bachelor's degree from Yeshiva University. He's also a doctoral degree in clinical psychology at the Farrakov Graduate School of Psychology. He's assistant professor of psychiatry at the Mount Sinai Medical Center in Manhattan, engaged to be married. So welcome you to the program. I also welcome Eliezer Cohen, who was Esquire, who was close to the rabbi over the years as a friend, even now to the family. And he can talk about the atmosphere that was created in the community where they davened in Israel. Not he was always there. But Binyamin Weinberger joined this group in Eretz Yisrael and attended yeshiva, now showed under the leadership of the Pittsburgher Rebbe, the Munas Avram, and his son Rabbi Mordechai, known as Tiferes Mordechai. Binyamin became close to Rabbi Waxl due to their shared interest and relationship with the Pittsburgh community. Of course, Rabbi Waxl was very close to the Pittsburgher Rebbe. Gentlemen, I welcome all of you. Good luck. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating. And I think it's just a tribute to inspire people to hear. You know, people complain about rabbis and not doing enough, and then they're complaining. Here we have in our lifetime a rabbi who exemplified really service, helping people, didn't stand on ceremony. Whatever needed to be done, he did, from early morning to late at night. So let me start with you, Dr. Jared Schiff, because you grew up in Long Beach, and of course, that's where you spent a lot of time. Tell us about your connection, your association with Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Mazel tov to you on your engagement, by the way.
Thank you so much.
And your family are always sponsoring the breakfast in honor of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak every year, so I thank them publicly for that.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I think that, Rabbi Dr. Wakslak, he was really amazing in that, like, he was a pillar of, like, that large, but he was also amazing in getting sort of to know the community on an individual level. And that was very true for me. Like, when I was, applying to graduate programs, he was offering me guidance. He would always save his psychology magazine for me, talk about psychology with me. When I was practicing test kits, he would bring them from Brooklyn, just, allow me on them. And so he really took me under his wing and mentored me in so many different ways. And that's when I really, I miss him so much because again, like I think it's unusual age to see someone who is such a pillar of the community, so well respected, but also really just knows a person in that community on such an individual level, and very well rounded every way, right? Also had a sense of humor. One thing I remember specifically was like his perm shtick that he had every perm. And he would really become so enthusiastic in it and everything, and he was amazing in every way. I miss him very much. Rabbi Wakslak is amazing. I'm still in touch with her. I spoke to her right before Shabbat, and just the two of them are pillars of the community, and I miss Rabbi so much.
No, absolutely. And Rabbi Terrific Waxlack. And first, I want to thank her for, and together with Jeff Lederer, they sponsored a beautiful kiddush at the Israel of Long Beach this morning. She's carrying the legacy of her late husband. And I'm just waiting for the book to come out. I think people will be inspired by it. Like I said, people sometimes complain, oh, I don't like this leader, I don't like this rabbi. But when you see somebody in our lifetime who did so much and accomplished so much and gave of oneself, that's really what you want to see. Wasn't concerned about self, he was concerned about community. That's something very, very important. Let me turn to you, Binyamin Weinberger, because you grew up in Eretz Yisrael and you have the connection with the Pittsburgher Rebbe. So I know Rabbi Waxl was very close to the Pittsburgher Rebbe, and especially in Newark. So tell us about your connection, your relationship, and also about Rabbi Waxl and the Pittsburgher Rebbe.
Okay. Rabbi Waxl would always speak when we came there for Shabbosim. I'll get there in a second. Rabbi Waxl was born in '48, and he came to Newark when he was 2 years old. And his father joined the Chernovich Rebbe's shtibel. The Pittsburgh Rebbe was the Chernovich Rebbe before he was Pittsburgh Rebbe. And his father was the gabbai in the shul. And that's where Chaim grew up, actually. That's where his bar mitzvah was. And that they had a relationship. I know Rabbi Chaim would always say that the Rebbe, I don't know if how it happened, but he convinced him to go to Torah Vodaas. I think he was supposed to go to a different yeshiva, and the Rebbe convinced his father or Chaim himself to go to Torah Vodaas, and he was very, very close to him. He always spoke about him. When we came about 20 something years ago, I didn't even know that Reb Chaim existed, but the Pittsburgh Rebbe, the son of the Pittsburgh Rebbe that was close to Reb Chaim, someone that actually grew up with him in Newark, Rabbi Mordechai, they grew up as kids together in the shtibel, told us there's a chashav talmid of his father that is a rabbi in Long Beach, and did we ever meet him? And we actually never did. So we went down to HASC, and we sat with him there, and he invited us to come to Shabbos to Long Beach. And that started that rekindled somewhat I guess the relationship between Rabbi Waxl and Pittsburgh again. And we spent many Shabbosim in Long Beach. And the rabbi would take care of the arranging it and planning the menu and planning the whole Shabbos. The highlight of our Shabbos, besides for sitting and eating the meals together, was the Rav's drushes, which were unbelievable. How he would go back and mention Hakaras HaTov by him was a very big point, and he would bring it out in different ways every year whenever we were there, and we miss him dearly. It was as everyone's saying, we lost him so young.
Very young. He was larger than life.
He also spoke every year when we made a Yahrzeit Tribute for the Pittsburgh Rebbe, his Rebbe. We made a Yahrzeit Tribute. I've been doing it for over 30 years, and he would speak, and he spoke so beautifully, and it was so warm. And it was also an address I was able to go and ask and get information. And when he passed away, I really feel that I don't really have anyone that would remember that time in Newark or just the history. So it's sad. It's very sad.
But I'm hoping, and I spoke to the Rebbe, so I'm waiting for a book to come out, because a book will really get more into details. We're just only going to touch superficially. He had so much activity that he did from early morning to late at night, impacted so many people, not just in his community. Anybody who came to him for help, he was there. Let me turn to Eliezer Cohen, because you know another facet of his life, dealing with Pearl Harbor. So welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us, and tell us about your relationship, your connection.
Thank you, Zev. I want to say that I was privileged to meet Rabbi Wakslak when he married Rebbetzin Rivka. Rebbetzin Rivka was a neighbor, grew up in Bell Harbor, and he saw that the young Israel was floundering, and shortly after he was married, and he took the young Israel under his wings and became the rabbi. It was his first stellar, and he was really, learning the trade on the people of the young Israel. It was a small community made up of mostly older people and some young families. And he really, I'll tell you, there's something that Rabbi Yisrael Reisman said. He repeats in the name of David Singer from Borough Park. The shalshelis in the Torah is always on a word that evidences an act that is an initial event that impacts history. There's 4 times, and each one of them is a moment that is really a stepping stone for Jewish history. And Rabbi Wakslak was that shalshelis for each community that he had a connection with. He took the opportunity to become a person who didn't sit still and wait for others to do. He did on his own. And he wasn't just a link in a long chain of Jewish history. He was the artist who fashioned the new chain and the links that would follow. And he inspired everybody. And he was always looking not just to work on his own little shul, but for the community. In Bell Harbor, he was the one who brought the mikveh to Bell Harbor. He was the one who made sure there was an Arab built in Bell Harbor. He was the one who brought the yeshiva to Bell Harbor, Rabbi Dickstein and Rabbi Zelikovitz, when they came to Bell Harbor. He was always looking to inspire not just the people in his shul, but the people in the community. He started a Mishnayos class for young kids so that they could come learn, and that all the kids from the community, from the different shuls, would be able to join together. And he wasn't just focused on his own shul. He never stopped thinking and implementing ideas that would have a significant impact on the community. And all the people that were privileged to be impacted by his vision. It was something that he honed in Bell Harbor, and he continued in Long Beach. And it didn't make a difference if it was HASC, if it was Bell Harbor, if it was Long Beach, it was the psychiatry that he did, all the different things that he did. And Rabbi Pam said that one person is not insignificant. Each person is a crucial piece in the puzzle of Jewish life. And Rabbi Wakslak was more than just a piece of the puzzle. He was really the progenitor of the puzzle. And he really, and in Bell Harbor, he had some help with certain people. Rabbi Moshe Levin Zangerzuntenstock used to be very close to him. Oliver Shalom, Dr. Michael Frogel was very, very close and helped him in the Young Israel. And all these people together gave him the courage to implement ideas that were out of the box and to try to do things that people would appreciate. And the shul had dinners and meals together, Simchas Torah and Yontiv and Purim. Everything was done in a way to make everybody feel like they were part of a family. And that was his specialty, to make everyone feel united and all together, and to work for the common goal of improving Yiddishkeit in the community.
No, very well said. As you were talking, I think it was Rabbi Noah Weinberg of Esha Torah. He said, if one man, Hitler, can kill 6 million Jews, and one man can save 6 million Jews. Now, certainly it's just wonderful and refreshing to hear how he helped so many different people and really made such an impact. One individual had tremendous impact on different communities, and that's why tonight we have only a segmentation. I know he was involved with Camp HASC, was a clinical psychologist for so many years, and we've been randomly looking at some of the neighborhoods. And the fact that we're going to take a break right now, Dr. Jared Schiff represents his Long Beach. I know you, Eliezer Cohen, represent the Bell Harbor aspect of Rabbi Wakslak, and you, Mayor Weinberger, represent the Pittsburgher Rebbe connection, which was an important part of his life. It was a very important part of life as well. So we're looking at Binyamin Weinberger, I should say. So we thank all of you. We're going to continue our conversation. We're looking at the legacy of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, whose 5th Yahrzeit is being commemorated. We're going to be right back. And if you want to chime in our conversation, we'll take some phone calls, 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. Emails are wonderful way to get some of your questions answered, zev@talklinenetwork.com, zev@talklinenetwork.com. Coming up a little later tonight, we'll speak to Alan Dershowitz on why he doesn't like Senator Chuck Schumer, why he calls him an opportunist and terrible. We'll get to your why. He also talks about how he helped Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's upcoming. We'll also speak to Jeffrey Yaakov Searle and Dr. Paul Brody. Dr. Jeffrey Searle has the Queen's Jewish Link. Dr. Paul Brody is among the honorees. They're honoring Jewish leadership. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Crown Heights. Who is watching the Buckram, the students in Crown Heights? It was a terrible fire just the other day. We'll speak to Rabbi Mendy Cohen and also speak to Rabbi Eli Cohen, dealing about what's happening in Crown Heights. So we got a lot going on tonight. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned. This is the Talkline Network.
What happens?
Other than break.
Okay. Should I call him? You're going to speak to you again?
Maybe. We'll see.
It was very nice. Really nice. He spoke beautifully of this,
I had a lot to say, but it's a question. You can't look packing. I wanted to.
No, you have to answer his questions. You can't tell him what you want to say. What did he ask you?
My relation, my connection.
No, he didn't ask. He said something else. And you started with him as your holder.
No, my holder.
The T-Regs are cheering you on. I put it on Bobby on the side. You should hear.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back, and we're looking and paying tribute to 5 years since the passing of the Rabbi Chaim Wakslak, who was a very, very special individual. I was close with him over the years. I ran his speaker series at Young Israel. The 830 Minyan was inspired, and he helped me along with that. And certainly I miss talking to him. He's somebody who really knew a lot about everything. And he's somebody who had impacted so many lives, both in his community and beyond. I'm looking at his legacy. Dr.Jared Schiff was originally from Long Beach, mentored by him, and Eliezer Cohen Esquire was close to him over the years. He's from the Bell Harbor community. And of course, Binyamin Weinberger grew up in Eretz Yisrael and close to the Pittsburgh Rebbe, and those were the Newark years. By the way, is there much of a community left in Newark?
I'm not sure that any Jews live in that area now.
We get some calls from Newark, but I don't think it's as big as it was. Let's see if we can take one or two phone calls. Let's go to Shalom in Brooklyn. Shalom in Brooklyn, are you there?
Yes, I wanted to ask. I had a Rabbi Dov, who was the Rav of the Agudas Yisrael in Bell Harbor. Did Rabbi Wakslak have any connection with him? Hello?
Yeah, so let me see if Eliezer, can you answer that question?
Who, Rabbi Yazdova? When Rabbi Waxlak was there, Rabbi Teitelbaum, the Volova Rebbe, was the Rav over there in Bell Harbor, which became the Aguda.
You didn't hear my question.
Did you hear his question?
If he had connection with Rabbi Dov Eichenstein, the Rav of Agudas Yisrael at Bell
Rabbi
Harbor.
Dov Eichenstein wanted to know if he had any connection with Rabbi Wakslak.
I don't know. I don't remember when Rabbi Eichenstein came.
Okay, Shalom, thank you for your question.
He was Rav of Harbor for 12 years.
Yeah, I understand, but Rabbi Waxlak's been out of there for almost 40 years.
So it might have been a different time period. So they may not have connected when it was there.
It was the same time.
Could be. Good. Anyway, thank you for your question. We appreciate that. Okay, but tell us about Bell Harbor. I know he had a hand, Rabbi Waxlak had a hand in helping build Bell Harbor, whether it was the mikveh, and also he donated some land in which was used for the shul. So he was very involved in the growth of the Bell Harbor Jewish community.
Yes, he took it under his own wings because there was a nursery school, and he bought the school property, and he moved the Young Israel into that property. And eventually, he gave part of the property to build a mikveh on the same property. And then they moved the yeshiva when Rabbi Dr. and Rabbi Zelikovitz came from Long Beach, and they moved into the same property. And they've taken over that property. So he was instrumental in everything in Bell Harbor. He was very close. He had a good relationship with the different shuls. And he tried to build the community. He did things that were for everyone to benefit, not just for his own shul. Because his own shul was very small at the time. We didn't have a very big shul. We had maybe 40, 50 families, that were members. Bell Harbor, that was year round. During the summertime, Bell Harbor was a thriving community. It still is a big community for people that come in the summertime, and people had summer homes. But in the wintertime, it was a smaller community.
To a lot of the beach community, even today, it's the summer times when they come to life. For the rest of the year, they're there, but they not the same as this during the summer months, those 4 or 5 months with that. Let me turn to you, Dr. Jared Schiff, because Long Beach was certainly a passion of Rabbi and the Rebbetzin, who's still connected and still active, doing so much for the communities. Tell us about Long Beach and your growth through Rabbi Waxlak. I know you started touching on it before, so tell us about especially the Long Beach connection.
Yeah, well, again, I think that Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak is at bringing together. And one of the ways that was helpful was all the chagim and the holidays. And one of the things that I look forward to every year was Hanukkah, where Rabbi Waxlak would go to every kosher establishment, Marvel, Toy, Dunkin' Donuts, everywhere. We would all get together and like Nora. And I just look forward to that every year. And it was such like an image in my mind by Wax, like the literal pillar of our bringing everybody together, having
Now, what you're saying is very true because Hanukkah, but see, he was community minded. While some rabbis very territorial, he wanted to work. I remember because for a while I tried to bring together all the shuls and all the rabbis under one organization. He was big into unity, big into community. And I think that's such a wonderful, wonderful thing that he was big into community. And he loved, like I said, he was Hasidic. He came from a Hasidic background, but he was able to relate to everybody. He had close friends that really was across the spectrum. Let me turn to you, Binyamin Weinberger. Tell us some more recollections about the Pittsburgher Rebbe. Just share with everyone a little bit more about the Pittsburgher Rebbe and what that relationship meant to Rabbi Wakslak.
Right. What Daryl was saying about Hanukkah, I just remembered that about the concerts that they used to have there in Shabbos. I remember I was there at the Lippe, and a few of these singers, and a lot of the Pittsburgher crowd would come down to spend there. But in terms of the Pittsburgh Rebbe, when we came there for Shabbos, and they had it was also, although it was coming and bringing the Pittsburgh community together and spending time with us, it was really he was trying to also bring us to be part of and to be mechazik, or to be there together with the community, to give the shul another experience, I guess, with the Rebbe and with the songs and the tish, and it was a real big Shabbos. He took it very seriously, and he planned from the beginning where we stayed, the meals. There was always a beautiful big kiddush. I know the community would come, and on Motzei Shabbos he wanted the Rebbe to meet people. He arranged for it. He made the phone calls in his house. The Rebbe would come and sit and spend time with people. We were there on Motzei Shabbos till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then we had him love Malka with just whoever was left in the house. Davening was very important to him. The Rebbe would daven for the Amud, and they daven Nusach Ashkenaz in the Aguda, in the Young Israel. And the Rebbe was the perfection. He was very, very professional about tefillah. He was able to do the exact nusach without missing. He davened Ashkenaz, but he didn't miss a beat, and the rabbi was very, very fond of that. He also a lot of his minhagim, a lot of the Rabbi Wakslak minhagim is things he picked up in Newark by the Chanovich Rebbe, who turned out later on to become the Pittsburgh Rebbe after his father passed away. I also heard from his sister, from Lori, that how special it was that for the last 10 years of her father's life, he spent in Long Beach, and he ate by the Rebbitzin and by the rabbi Shabbos morning every week. That was one thing she brought up. Another thing that she brought up is that he wanted his father to have nachas of him growing to be such a rav and a speaker, and whenever he would say the Shabbos Agadol drasha or the other special drashas, he would take out a ad in the Allgemeine Journal that he knew his father would read the paper later on and see it and have so much nachas. But he was always one step ahead. Whenever we would plan and with advertise, he was really like everyone else is saying. He was so multifaceted, and he was so involved in every little aspect.
He paid attention to every detail. I remember at Young Israel, and I don't know if I should say this publicly, but not only did he take his salary, he also put money into paying different personnel. And I ran the speaker series. He paid the speakers. He really so involved. There was no task that was too small for him to do. He schlepped chairs. I mentioned he schlepped food from during the Hurricane Sandy. So he was so involved in so many ways. And one of the things I understand that he helped people, and he did so in many ways, and he counseled people on the phone and in person many hours, whether it was at HASC or Long Beach, and families who couldn't pay tuition bills. He and his Rebbetzin would negotiate with the yeshiva to reduce the tuition. The family could not meet reduced tuition. He'd raise funds with Motzei Shabbos Cafe fundraisers, Shlomo Kalbach, Avram Fried. So he really was so much involved. Can anybody talk about the Rabbi Eli Kalbach? He had a connection to the Shlomo Kalbach and Rabbi Eli Kalbach. Could somebody talk about that? Can anybody comment about that? We're going to we'll squeeze in a phone call in just a moment. Can somebody handle that? Anybody want to tackle that one about Rabbi Kalbach from our panel? Nobody knows.
No.
Okay.
I remember him mentioning. I think Rabbi Kalbach was in Newark. I know they had a relationship. I remember hearing from him about him, but I don't really remember.
Going back to the Pittsburgher Rebbe, by the way, I do remember that the Pittsburgher Rebbe, he came to Long Beach and he was there for Shabbos, I remember. And it was just really, really nice. And I remember getting a blessing from the Pittsburgher Rebbe as well. So I know that Rabbi Wakslak and him were very close.
Let's go to Rifki in Borough Park. Good luck.
Good luck. I had to call in. My family used to go to Bell Harbor for the summers. We once rented, Young Israel had rented out their apartment upstairs. We took it there. And after that, we rented the apartment above the Lover Shul. But I remember hearing a lot about Rabbi Waxl. He was a name in the community. He worked feverishly to help build up this community. And he worked with all the from people that were in that community, including, let's say, the Velava, the Hasidim who davened by him. He worked with them too. They were all working to build up Bell Harbor, but unfortunately, it couldn't be done because the rest of Bell Harbor is mainly Catholic people, and they weren't really selling their houses. They were there to stay. And you couldn't really, the Velava Rebbe tried desperately to keep his shul there, to keep things going. He had lots from the community that didn't want a shul on the block. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still listening to you, Rifki. Go ahead.
Yeah. My mother, Leah Shalom, when we rented the apartment above that Velava shul, he had the Rebbe had this lawsuit going from the lady next door that didn't want a shul in Bell Harbor. So
sounds familiar. Those people still exist today, unfortunately.
Yeah, but my mother had an idea. She said, "You know what? I'm going to try talking to her. Maybe the problem that the Hasidic people are turning them off somehow." So she rang the lady's doorbell. She says, "I want to take you into the shul. I want to show you the shul." And she took this woman who was totally secular, but she was Jewish, believe it or not. She was Jewish, and she just didn't want a shul next door to her. Mother took her into the shul and took her to see the Sefer Torah. And she said, "You see, there are Torahs here. And you see how nice and clean it is, and people sit here and they pray, and it helps a little. You had to try to win these people over, but ultimately, I think that's why Rabbi Waxl probably went to Long Beach. You couldn't build up the community somehow.
But the community still exists, right? Eliezer, the community still exists.
Small.
The community exists. In the summertime, it's much stronger, but it's still there. There's a Sephardi shul, Syrian Sephardi shul. There's Zedek. There's the Aguda. There's still shuls and the yeshiva until it moves. They're moving, but to Pomona, I think. But there's still, a community there.
Oh, the yeshiva's moving now too.
Yes.
That yeshiva was very good there in Bell Harbor. That was the best thing that happened. I hear the Rabbi Waxl had to do with that.
He did. He was so many ways involved with the mikveh and expanding shuls, and he was so involved in so many different ways. And I don't even know 2% of what stuff that he did.
I remember hearing him. It's a very long time ago, but I remember hearing about him all the time, and they were saying they was into this and into that, and trying very hard to build up the neighborhood.
And Rivka, thank you for sharing that with us. And your mother did good work in trying to get somebody to stop blocking access to have the shul in the community. So thank you for sharing that.
She felt that maybe with being nice to them, maybe that would help. That maybe
But she should have invited her to the shul on Shabbos and given her some chont.
Yeah, that would have
That would have been the clincher. But anyway, Rivka, thank you for calling. Goodbye. We're out of time. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Dr. Jared Schiff, who knew and was mentored by Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak in Long Beach. Eliezer Cohen Esquire was close to the Rebbe over the years from the Bell Harbor community. Binyamin Weinberger grew up in Israel and his connections with the Pittsburgher Rebbe. So we thank all of you for being part of our special tribute to, I think, a wonderful man whose legacy should be studied because, as I said, to be a rabbi, to paskin is wonderful, but to be so involved in the community, to help people, that's really such an important value that he, and the Rebbetzin continues that to this very day, Rebbetzin Rivka Waxlak, Shishik Zunzain. But the point is, though, that's, I think, is the legacy, is so that we have to help other people. And he did so in such a grand way, and ways that was very quiet. People don't even know some of the good deeds that he did, but people know that he did that, and his wife is still continuing that. So I thank all of you for being part of our special broadcast. So thank you, as I said, Dr. Jared Schiff, also on your engagement, Eliezer Cohen Esquire, and of course, Binyamin Weinberger. Thank you for being part of our special show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck. And there you have it, tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak here on the Talkline Network. Okay, when we come back, we'll be looking at some Jewish leadership